I am Jeanne-Minette Cilliers, and I'm the Studienleiter for the voice department as well as teacher of collaborative piano at the Royal Conservatoire Antwerp. We are very lucky here in Antwerp to have a wonderful collaboration between the voice and composition departments. It is something that both Wim Hendricks, the head of composition, and I value very dearly, and that is the chance and opportunities for both singers and young composers to interact with each other, to take part in each other's projects, to discover each other's talents and how it can be mutually used. Working with new music, working with composers, is truly an illuminating experience. We tend to discover that composers are not nearly as rigid as we might think when we study Bach and Schubert and Schumann, but that composers in fact want the music to be alive and they want us to be a part of bringing the music to life. And so that process for me is one I want to nurture between young singers and young composers, and one that certainly here in Antwerp we make a continuous part of both the composition and voice curriculums. In October 2020, we presented a wonderful semi-stage production of Robert Schumann's Frauenliebe und Leben song cycle here in Antwerp as a collaboration between voice and composition. I have always wanted to do a semi-staged version of this song cycle, but cringed a little bit at the antiquated views on women presented in the texts of Adelbert von Camisso. Therefore, I asked the composition students to each present to us a possibility of some new songs in which the texts could comment on the Camisso poems, it could present something that's a more contemporary view on women. It could even present the Me Too movement. I've really encouraged the young composers to take the Camisso poems and let their imaginations run free in how that relates to a modern woman's life. We did have simultaneous projections, a lot of close-ups also of the singers, so it gave a wonderful opportunity for the singers to experiment with film, something that, of course, in COVID times became increasingly important because we only had screens and cameras for a while. But it was a really interesting process to combine film with live performance and for the singers to experience both sides. Three composers came up with really wonderful commentary on the Camisso texts. Actually, one of the composers used the 9th poem in the Camisso cycle that Robert Schumann did not set. And so we came up with this wonderful combination of the Schumann songs with these 3 new songs that formed a very updated and very applicable song cycle, and a very applicable presentation and commentary on what it is to be a woman today. And projects like this lie very close to my heart. I really believe it's important for both composer and a young singer to work with each other, to experiment, and then to see how their joint ventures come to fruition in projects like this. And we look forward to present many more of these kinds in the coming years. It was a very minimalist production in the sense of we were still in COVID time, and so there was limits on how much set and how much interaction we could have. But with that in mind, Gideon Sachs had the idea of the Handmaid's Tale, and a bit of women being really oppressed and controlled by men in what they could say and how they could even feel and experience. So it was a quite interesting bending of genres in the production. We had 3 very different composers. Bram Roos's piece was the one that used the 9th Camisso poem and was a quite classical composition. Then we had Constance van Gogh, who used a Dutch text that was quite minimalist in style. The 3rd composer, Sibrand Verhulst, had a quite musical theater style, quite different from anything else, but a text that was quite aggressively from the perspective of a 21st century woman. So I think all 3 of these composers brought something so vibrant and so personal to the assignment that it really gave Schumann a run for his money.
a slide into dark puddles of water, dark streams of thought, hard time. Almost at the point before its reef. Do I stand back and be floating just above?